Hello, welcome to another tonal landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and the painting I'm bringing you today is Summer Road 5x7. Oh my goodness, I painted this about, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago. I'm very pleased with it. I wanted to share it with you sooner, but we had other interesting things to share. A lot of times what happens is we're coming up to time to do the video. You see my little focus sheet there? Yep. And I'm most enthused about the most recent thing I've done. That's usually what's going on. But I have certainly been looking forward to showing you this one. So 5x7, it's a bit of hardboard primed with some house paint. And we had a good question about that. Why house paint? Isn't house paint bad? I don't think house paint's bad. I really don't see much of a difference between plastic of one type or plastic of another. Essentially, that's what acrylic paint is. It's just plastic. And what is important is that you have a buffer between the oil paint and the wood. Um, I suppose I don't know tons about it, but I have played with actual gesso, which is made from chalk, and I think in the old days like lead white paint, or you have a lead primed surface, and those I have painted on a lead primed surface, and it is very nice because you can just wipe right down to it. Lead is in general a wonderful material for making paintings with. Anyway, we are digressing right off the bat. We are doing our underpainting here with some nice burnt umber, and I had some things that had to come in and correct. I had some angles, but the reference image I was pretty enthused about. It was a riff on I honestly can't remember who's painting, but a really dark, really weird, interesting painting, and I didn't keep much of it except sort of this kind of dark attitude of sunset. And in fact, I believe in that painting the sky might have been like a total twilight sky with stars and things. But I went with a sunset, and obviously we've got the main tree here, which is our focal point, and in many ways acting as a framing device for the sky. Yeah. Now, these sorts of roads where we're coming up from the middle, right straight back, are my least favorite kind of roads. I prefer a road coming in from one side or the other. I think I did a good job of navigating this, and what I can say is that you have to have a real sensitivity and awareness to the fact that it can act like a big arrow, and especially if the sides of the trail or path or road are too straight. So I always make an effort to put some bumps and dips in there, and also we'll have a natural progression of dark to light as well. But yeah, I will do it. I did do it here, and I definitely sort of hesitated about it. The option, it just was the way the painting wanted to be, and you've heard me talk about that before too. Sometimes you can change things, control things, but most paintings have their own kind of destiny. It really starts from the reference image for me, and now if it's based on a photo I took, then it actually starts out in nature where I saw a composition and I says, that looks good. In a painting like this, it was inspired by a master's composition, but there's nothing especially fancy about the composition. It's what I call a reverse L, and it's a nice frame for a sky and that sort of thing. And um, I took advantage of that and the fact that I knew we were going to have a dramatic sunset thing to really go all in on the sky. So we have the oranges up against the blues and some real intense yellows and things, all adding up to drama and mystery. And that tree is pretty dark as well too, which if you think about it, it looks weird if you have too many highlights in a tree at this time of day. I will not ever paint, I'll say ever, but usually I will not paint a tree entirely dark. I could possibly conceive of doing this for some part of a tree that was not the focal point, but you want some light in that tree, but you want to be careful not to get that HDR effect, and that is fake looking. Not that, it's okay if this doesn't look 100% natural. That's not the point. And that's, to me, not the point of tonalism. It's not a naturalist sort of movement in art. It's much more of a poetic and expressive approach to the landscape. And that's why I think it's really quite interesting to create. Sometimes I will call something like this a confection, because I've done everything I can to dial up every part of it. I put in a lot of glows and rich colors and drama in the sky and nice deep mysterious shadows in the tree and a path taking you somewhere. It's got everything. I'm pretty stoked to be sharing it with you. Yeah, so hey, we got an ad for the book coming up. We just shipped out 2 books, and I'm so happy to do that. I really love sending this book all over the planet. Yeah, landscape painting the toneless way. That's like a deep dive into how to paint in a toneless manner. I've got demos in there. I've got lots of examples of things to watch out for and things to do. And I think you'll like it. I sent out a couple this week, and I'll send it to you anywhere on the planet for $60 US. International shipping's included now. I've got the heads up from the post office that the shipping rates are going up, and the shipping actually cost me more than the printing, if you can believe that. It's just an insane world, and I live in a remote place, New Zealand, in spite of my American accent. Anyway, I'll ship it to you, and you'll dig it, and that's the only way to get it right now. Yeah. So, getting back to the painting, yes, sky first, and I'm real happy with that. It's a lot of drama in that sky. Now, one thing I should point out, that sometimes in your reference you have these, like these diagonal rays of light. You'll never ever see me paint that. It's not to say I won't use reference that has those in it, but I'll always leave that out. To me, those are just, first of all, they're like, I don't mind messing with cliches, but that's going too far. And also, it's creating a lot of these diagonals that I don't like. You can see diagonals implied in the sky I painted, though, and a nice progression from purpley grays right into yellows, and I'm real happy with that. And of course, we're going to go in with the darks, and the darks here is good old Mars Black, good old faithful. Like Mars Black mixed with some burnt umber, so it's nice and warm. Sometimes I notice in some of the videos the shadows might go a little blue. My shadows aren't generally blue. I head for more of a neutral, and one reason why I like to add the burnt umber to the mixture is, well, 2 reasons. One, it speeds up the drying, which Mars Black isn't too bad of a dryer. Ivory Black is way too slow, if you ask me. But also it warms it up a little, and I like my shadows warm. I know there's a lot of people of the impressionist ilk that will go on at length about cool shadows, and yep, sure, shadows are cool. Sometimes they're cool, sometimes I make them cool, but generally I like my shadows warm. I think it's more tonal, I think it's more groovy, and at the end of the day, you got to watch out for these hard, fast rules that people are laying on you, like a shadow's always cool, or oh, well, all of the stuff I'm always saying. They're just rules of thumb, All of these rules can be broken. I'd say the rules that there are rules that can't be broken, and we're here moving towards the end of the video. Let's see if we can't think of a few that can't be broken. One, you can't have a crappy composition and make a good painting with that. That's not going to work. That's a rule. You need to work out that composition. That means the masses need to have a arrangement and relationship to each other that is harmonious and that is working. Even in a painting that you want to be jarring, if it's going to work, you still need to have a balance struck. Otherwise, you're just making straight up bad art. So that's one rule. Or what's another good rule? Oh, you can't put things in your painting that don't make sense. I always call it the flaming phone booth, and that's from good old Stapleton Kearns. Would this painting be better if I put a flaming toll booth in there, or a phone booth in there? Yeah. As I recall in his blog, he actually did a painting where he put the phone booth in there. But everything in your painting really needs to have a reason to be there. It needs to always work towards a unified message. It's a scene. So be careful with that. So that's another hard, fast rule. And I didn't have much prepared in the way of hard, fast rules. Maybe another one will come up to me as we're talking about stuff. So yeah, and this painting, it's got a lot of reds in it, and that's pretty typical of me. It's not often that I just push everything off in 100% green direction with the trees or the foliage and the landscape around them. And of course, having the underpainting color be a reddish tone totally supports that, you know. But I did inject a lot of, well, there's two things I like to throw. Like in this scene, I put a lot of cad orange. You can see it. So instead of having a lot of extra tree holes, I just did some bits where the cad orange is into the green mix and gives you a real glow, which to me sort of implies like there's light hitting the other side of the tree and trying to make its way through, trying to make it itself felt. Now this tree shape, yeah, I did struggle a bit with it. I ended up being real happy with it. I had even tried pulling it all the way off of the edge, which would be total M. Francis move right there. But that didn't work, so I had a little bit of sky on that side, and I think that does work well. And here's a tip for you, since you've been so patient to get this far with me. If you got like these little, like a slice of sky on the side of the painting, don't put anything too bright there. You can see that I have some chroma there. I have a bit of brightness, but it's holding well back of the main brightness, which is up against the other side of the tree. Now, in my modality, my way of thinking, I always like to have the most contrast be the sky where it's meeting some part of the tree, and it will generally be the lower to middle part of the tree. In fact, I don't like it to be the absolute bottom part of the sky up against the tree, but I'll do that too. It all depends on the painting. There's not a hard, fast rule, like I was talking about a minute ago. Most of the rules of painting aren't hard and fast. They are somewhat flexible. Um, well, yeah, I just thought of another rule. Don't take too long to make your painting. I'm not saying you want to rush. I'm not saying to get lazy and start slapping stuff down without a care. Every stroke you lay down, every move you make, should be made with care and attention, but not with stiffness, not with so much attention that that particular passage of the painting ends up calling undue attention to itself. We want everything to work together towards a cohesive whole, but you want to move through. Now here's that diagonal, okay, and you'll see me come in a little later. In fact, I can't remember. I may have even did it in a color pass the next day or something. I don't like to do that, or it may have been a few days later. That sort of bothered me on our right side, coming in from the lower, up maybe a fifth of the way. That diagonal line going up towards the horizon, I felt that was too diagonal. And yes, I get funny about that sort of thing, and people might not even notice it, but I did come back in and stair step that. Now, I really like these nice rich greens. Everything in this painting is going up to the chromatic tonalism top, which is not as bright or chromatic as it could go, but it definitely is going pretty far, especially those greens. And who I got that from was old George Innes, right? He knew how to push it. He knew how to push the color in the chroma. And this painting owes a lot to him. I don't believe he was the artist that it was patterned after the original reference. But God bless you, George. We are always thinking of you. Anyway, till I come back with another painting for your edification and enjoyment, do me a favor, do me a solid. Take good care of yourself, your family, all your loved ones. Stay out of trouble and fight the power.